How big of a blowback is there right now in MAGA world specifically?
It's pretty big, I have to be honest. It's just a red line that it crosses for many people. Jeffrey Epstein is literally the most well-known convicted pedophile in modern-day history. This is something that's been talked about by many people serving in the administration, myself, and many others on the right and the left, of there needing to be transparency of the rich and powerful elites that were in his circle while he was just one of the worst serial abusers of young women. It has been a very serious situation for the administration, and many people are speaking out online. You've seen it. You saw it at Turning Point Student Action Summit this weekend. And a lot of people in MAGA, they really want to know more information about the people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and is there a blackmail list, and are there foreign countries' governments involved? And there's nothing wrong with people continuing to ask that.
For the first time in his political life, Donald Trump is losing control of the message. The MAGA base is demanding answers after Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that Jeffrey Epstein did not have a client list. At the time of his death, Epstein faced charges over the sex trafficking of underage girls. Bondi's announcement is a 180 from the theories Trump and his allies have promoted for years. For example, Dan Bongino.
A lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
I think so? Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
I'm not ever going to let this story go because of what I heard from a source about Bill Clinton on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not letting it go ever.
Okay, well, now he's deputy director at the FBI, and Bongino is talking about quitting over handling of the Epstein case. The group chat is back. Jasmine, one of the things that struck me about watching this play out online in social media posts is people saying someone should be fired. This person needs to go, that person needs to go. Is it Bondi? Is it Bongino? Where's Kash Patel? What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, I think people have to look back to Signalgate and how long it took President Biden to fire Mike Waltz, and yet he's still
President Trump, yeah.
President Trump to fire Mike Waltz, and yet he is still now heading for a confirmation vote to be the UN ambassador, right? President Trump does not want to fire his cabinet. And in fact, he really actually likes Pam Bondi. They spend a lot of time together. They have a lot of FaceTime, and they've had for years. He also says that he likes Dan Bongino. Of course, Dan Bongino showed up to work yesterday, a source told me, really something that the administration hopes is kind of the first step for this to be, just a bridge over troubled water, something kind of in the distance, and that the base gets over it. Of course, I talked to one MAGA influencer who basically said the base, after this, couple of days, including President Trump's Truth Social, was unmoved, that they're not moving on. And so they're kind of
as he says over and over again. Is anyone still talking about this? And
so
the answer is yes.
They're kind of in between a rock and a hard place. But I think that people have to recognize that Donald Trump does not want to give anybody a scalp, and he actually really likes Pam Bondi. And so I don't necessarily see him firing her, at least in the
In the meantime, Democrats weighing in on this. Here's House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
The American people deserve to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to this whole sordid Jeffrey Epstein matter. Democrats didn't put the Jeffrey Epstein thing into the public domain. This was a conspiracy that Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and these MAGA extremists have been fanning the flames of for the last several years. And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
Look, I like it. I like it a lot.
Did you just do the chin? I want to know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is that, look, there's very few issues that Democrats can weigh into on conspiracy stuff that will get MAGA to even think Democrats got half a brain. But this is one of them. One thing that's lost, and Democrats, listen to me, the way we should be talking about this and the reason that these files should be made public is because we never talk about the victims and the folks who've lived through, the women who've lived through what they had to live through with this whole thing. Like we talk about him, we talk about Trump, we talk about a Democrat, we talk about Clinton, whatever, but we
fairness,
forget.
If you go down the rabbit hole, a lot of the people posting are like, what about these victims? They need justice.
Sure.
They see that as part of their...
Democrats says this is how you should be talking about this.
Yeah.
Talk about the victim and say that's why we should see everything.
All right, I have one for you, too. You had your chin.
Yeah.
This one is Marjorie Taylor Greene demanding transparency on the case.
Why am I Marjorie Taylor Greene all day?
That it crosses for many people. Jeffrey Epstein is literally the most well-known convicted pedophile in modern day history, being convicted years ago for procuring a child for prostitution, as well as other charges. And this is something that's been talked about by many people serving in the administration, myself, and many others on the right and the left, of there needing to be transparency.
If the whole point of outsiders becoming insiders, Chuck, but people becoming insiders is that they're going to make a difference. And what I hear in the way people talk about it is not only you not making a difference, you're becoming part of whatever machine I'm upset about. And like, there's an undercurrent there that I wonder is hard to fight.
Absolutely, and I think that's on both sides of the aisle. I mean, you've got the extreme left and the extreme right, which all will come together. But this is one of those issues. They just don't trust the government. But she's right, and actually, you're thinking just like Marjorie Taylor Greene in regards to the
victim. Trying to get me fired from all my clients. Go ahead.
But I do think that there is a fundamental problem that the president has to deal with. You're right. He likes Pam Bondi, and she's taking the fall for this. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, what's really happening behind the scenes. The list coming out is not going to be good for Republicans or Democrats. I'm sure there's people on the list.
Pam Bondi says there's no list.
Or the names.
Yes.
But Laura Trump said yesterday that she thinks that there's going to be more information coming out, and she's trying to, obviously, if she's coming out and saying the president's frustrated about this, they realize that something has to happen. Say something.
We do have new CNN reporting this morning. President Trump is urging those in his inner circle to let the furor surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case die down. It comes after a dramatic few days that put the president kind of at odds with some of his most ardent supporters, including inside his own administration. At one point yesterday, it was not even clear whether the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino would show up to work again. That's after fallout with Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of the Epstein files. He did return to the office yesterday ultimately, but his future remains up in the air. Let's get right to CNN's Kevin Liptak at the White House. Where is this going, Kevin, and how does the White House feel about the direction?
Yeah, well, the hope and I think expectation inside this building and on the part of President Trump is that this will all eventually sputter out, that the president's entreaties to his supporters, to his words, put this to rest, will be followed, and that this controversy will follow the pattern of so many Trump controversies before it and essentially dissolve into the ether. And at least among one subset of his outraged base, which are the people who actually work for him, it does appear to be going in that direction. Dan Bongino, the deputy FBI director, who threatened to quit over this last week and actually didn't show up to work on Friday, did wind up in the office yesterday. The president was infuriated by his ultimatum, we're told, and it did take some massaging on the part of allies of both of these men, including the vice president, J.D. Vance, to sort of get things back on track. So Bongino back on the job for now, although we should note he has said in the past he's not particularly fond of the job he's in, and it does appear as if he wants to maintain some credibility among his podcast audience, to whom he peddled a lot of these conspiracies about Jeffrey Epstein before he took this job. And at the end of the day, it is that question of credibility that really is at the center of all of this, both for Bongino and for President Trump. You know, Trump is someone who fueled all of these conspiracies as a candidate. Now, as president, he seems unwilling or unable to follow through and to give his supporters the answers that they're really looking for. We did hear from a top ally of the president, his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, who suggested we had not yet heard the final word on this matter. Listen to what she said.
There needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. I mean, look, I don't know what truly exists there, but I know that this is something that's important to the president as well. I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later.
So you hear her saying there that more will be coming out. That was not at all the gist of the memo from the Justice Department that started all of this, which essentially said case closed. And we've got no indications from the Justice Department or the White House that they do in fact plan to put more of all of this out. You also hear her say that she thinks the president understands all of this. What we've heard from a lot of Trump allies is that they're concerned that he does not in fact understand the gravity of all of this, and that his attempts to dismiss it are only making matters worse.
Pretty notable to hear from Lara Trump on this, saying that we will hear more eventually. Someone who theoretically has a little bit of a line to the Oval Office. All right, Kevin Liptak at the White House this morning. Thanks so much for sharing this new reporting.